Yes. 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 What? Yes. What? There's something wrong here. 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 Chris, I had a ding, 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 and then I said yes, and then it played back to me yes, only yes, and then I said what, and it played back what, what? Am I doing something wrong? Yeah, I have on my screen Person County Board of Commissioners, September 21, and all right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Uh, all right, so I began to hear you and coming and over on that.
9 o'clock, I'd like to call the September 21st, 2020 meeting of the Person County Board of Commissioners to order and ask Commissioner Clayton if he will lead us in invocation, please.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, please be with us as we go about our meeting today. Please be with all of our young men and women that are in the military that are allowing us to have rights to have meetings such as this. Please be with our country as we go forward with the next election cycle that's going on. In our holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have the agenda before you. Are there any discussion, adjustments, approval? We do need to add a item 9 for the 7th Amendment with Public Service for Upper Piedmont Landfill. Do I hear a motion to add that? I'll make that motion. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted? So move. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Informal comments. Okay. Item number 1, discussion, adjustment, approval of consent agenda. Move for approval. It's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2, broadband deployment update. Chris Prier.
Good morning. As you all know, with coronavirus, last few months, broadband has certainly come to the forefront of a lot of folks' minds with remote learning and teleworking. Person County has been privileged that the commissioners have put that as a priority for the last few years. So today we have with us from RIVERSTREET Networks, Mr. Bill Shillito and Greg Coltrane. They're going to give you an update on what they're doing across the state, as well as the Person County project, and also what their goals are for future expansion in Person County.
Thank you, Mr. Prier. Commissioners, Chairman, Madam Clerk, thank you for allowing us to be here today. My name is Bill Shillito. I work for the Business Development Group. In our presentation today to prepare for you, we wanted to show you the extent of our organization since the purchase of North Carolina Wireless by RIVERSTREET. Here to help me with that portion of the presentation is Mr. Greg Coltrane, who is the Vice President of RIVERSTREET Networks. He is my boss and also second in command in the whole organization. He understands the whole nature. He understands the benefits of being able to track funds from various sources, both county, state, and federal government. He's going to take us through a few of those numbers. I'm going to step back up and then present to you our current status of our project that we started several years ago with you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Greg Coltrane.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you guys for allowing us to be here this morning to give you an update, a presentation. As Bill said, my name is Greg Coltrane, and I've been working in the broadband industry for, well, before it was a broadband industry, roughly 22 years. I come from Eastern North Carolina in Beaufort County, rural citizen in Beaufort County, North Carolina, born and raised there. For many years, I worked for an independent telephone cooperative that recently merged into WILKES Communications, which is now the company that we call RIVERSTREET Networks. And I wanted to tell you just a little bit about the company so you can understand the relationship that we wish to have with Person County and carry forward the relationship you've had with North Carolina Wireless. WILKES Telephone Membership Corporation is in the western part of the mountains of North Carolina. We kind of consider it to be the gateway to the mountains. If you've ever driven up 421 heading into up towards the Blue Ridge Parkway, you'll recall Wilkesboro sits nestled up in there. We were started 69 years ago. We have roughly 83 employees within that organization of Wilkes Telephone Membership Corporation. And in early, let's say 2010, we received stimulus money through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that afforded us the opportunity to pass all of our members with fiber to the home. And from that, we learned a lot. We gained a lot of information about what it's like to build fiber that connects all the way up to the house for a customer. Once that network was built, we had the ability to provide at a minimum 100 by 100 meg symmetrical service to those customers and up to 1 gig. Meantime, on the eastern side of the state, Tri-County Broadband was doing the same thing, and we had applied and received money as well. There were some common synergies between the two companies, and once both companies had passed all of their customers with fiber, we felt like we had a call to go and serve the unserved. So at the time when Wilkes was created, it was to provide excellence in customer service and add value to the lives of its customers and members. But how do you spread what we've learned out across the state? So the green donut that you see there is Wilkes County. The green area is where we provided fiber starting in 2014. And then if you look across the state, there were 8 independent telephone cooperatives. Tri-County TMC is the co-op that we merged together to form RIVERSTREET. And there's kind of a bit of a expansion of fiber across the state that there seems to be a pattern going on here. So if you kind of look at where the co-ops are in North Carolina and you look at where fiber is actually being built, the cooperatives have really taken that serious. When you look at broadband now, North Carolina ranks 36 in the country. We only have about 10% of fiber deployed. And so our mission has been to try to build fiber out to rural unserved areas, much like years ago when we didn't have telephone and when we didn't have power. And the for-profit companies kind of picked off the areas that they wanted to serve, and then there were those that were left without. And so we kind of feel like we were going back to our roots. When we established RIVERSTREET Networks, it is a for-profit company, but it's owned by the cooperative. So we carry forward a lot of the cooperative principles in how we treat our customers and how we give them fair service at a reasonable, we give them reasonable price service. And for instance, RIVERSTREET has roughly about 116 employees. And this is our engine for expanding and growth. So when we found out about North Carolina Wireless and Bill's company and its proximity to several of our projects, and we had the opportunity to sit down and meet with them, we felt like that North Carolina Wireless would help deepen our bench into the wireless business because fiber is rather expensive. It takes longer to deploy fiber, but we knew that wireless could be a bridge the gap to help get wireless in place for people until we could find the means, the funds, and the way to be able to build fiber to all those wireless customers. So our mission now is to serve the unserved and the underserved. So we felt like we were better together. Light Leap and RIVERSTREET Networks is now RIVERSTREET Networks. We have just under 30,000 customers. The slides are a little hard to see, but we have roughly 7,000 fixed wireless customers across North Carolina and Virginia, and roughly 17,000 wireline, either copper or fiber-based customers. The expansion that we're working on currently that really envelops this region is involved just across the North Carolina border into Virginia. In addition to our North Carolina charter, we are working diligently in Virginia to build parts of Pittsylvania County, Halifax County, and 7 other rural counties across the North Carolina border that we received some Connect America Fund money to the tune of $32 million. We are channeling that money along with a loan that we received through the United States Department of Agriculture to do a $70 million build for fiber to the home just across the state line into Virginia. So regionally, this area is of significant importance to us. And since 2010 to present, we have roughly secured about $150 million in either grant or our own money that we've put up or USDA loans which totals 18 grants or loans combination to build broadband to rural, either wirelessly or with fiber. That's something that we feel is really important because it shows our track record and our means to be able to go after grant funds, both state, regional, and federal, to be able to pay for these types of projects and help subsidize them. Because obviously, let's face it, if there was a lot of money to be made in these rural areas, there would already be private investors there doing it. And we understand that you guys, you get that because of the struggles that you've had here. So before I go any further, I'm going to turn it back over to Bill and let him talk with you a little bit about the PCAN project here. And I wanted to ask you if you had any questions for me. All right. Thank you so much.
Good morning again. This is the presentation I did to the board in April via the video conference. I've taken that as an opportunity to then update where we were then and where we are now, and also talk about what we're hoping to accomplish and planning to accomplish. So the purpose of this original relationship and a grant was the next generation broadband to meet the technology needs of the citizens of Person County. And the goals were to create a scalable network solution and foster economic growth, faster development of new areas in the county, and provide reliable service for 15 plus years. I think this project is well on its way to accomplishing those. The county provided funds of $254,000. North Carolina Wireless agreed to match those funds or more. And it appears that we'll be investing quite a bit more than that. Funds expended to date of the county funds, we've requested and been reimbursed for just under $210,000, leaving about $44,000 left to be claimed. Now, our intention is to only ask for those funds as we bring new clients on for those last additional funds. The infrastructure has been built. We'll talk about where your funds went, where our funds went shortly, and the funds that are still need to be expended for that. Any additional clients coming on, we will ask for a reimbursement of $250 each for those, giving us quite a bit of growth for those additional funds. We're transitioning from Light Leap to River Street, and this is our current pricing structure as we advertise our packages under North Carolina Wireless Light Leap brand. So the lowest package is $39.95. It's a 3 meg package. It's a very basic package, up to the recognized, FCC recognized, what they consider broadband at $25.3 at $109. That's our current pricing. As we make this transition, and this is one of the things that we will be asking for the help of the county with a little bit, is to promote that transition so that it goes as smooth. Folks know that we're the same company, the same organization, just with more resources available to us now. This will be the new pricing structure when the transition is complete. So for that 4 packages that we had before, it will go to a 2 package scheme whereby the 25 by 3 up to 25 by 3 would be priced at $45. And then there will be a 50 by 3 package available at $70. There are some nuances to it a little bit, but that's the basic gist of it. Speeds will go up and prices will come down under this transition process. This is our current structure as the original project was envisioned. The Mount Tirzah has been operational since 2017. We have about 16, 17 clients off Mount Tirzah. And then the other one is the Woodland territory or access point in the Northwest. It's been operational since August of 2018. We'd hoped that the other 2 locations, Bethel Hill and Bushy Fork, would have been on earlier this year. We need the Fiber X to complete. We're in constant contact with Broadplex and Dr. Rocco DeSanto about when he hopes to be able to complete that. That will allow us to backhaul. We have been in your ROXBORO Network Operations Center. We have equipment there. Currently, we're buying bandwidth from CenturyLink out of Bethel Hill. That's our uplink. So all the customers that hit any one of those 4 towers come back to Bethel Hill. We put them on fiber there. When we originally started out, we purchased 100 by 100 megabits from CenturyLink, a synchronous account. We've since overwhelmed that with their customer base, and we've expanded that to 200 by 200 meg link. So it was $1,000 a month previously. We've gone to about $1,700 a month in cost with CenturyLink. We can buy bandwidth much more reasonably out of ROXBORO, just more competition there. So when the fiber's complete and Dr. DeSanto is complete with his connections to us at Bethel Hill, then we'll be able to move that account to ROXBORO and enjoy probably a gig of speed at the same price that we're paying per month now. The 2 towers that are Viper towers, Terza and Woodland, are completely operational from those dates. The 2 towers left, Bushy Fork and Bethel Hill, are fully loaded with our equipment. So all the capability is there. We need a backhaul then to start bringing up customers. I will tell you that the Bushy Fork is the most active calls that we get. We've got more calls from in and around that area than we have in any others. We log each of those, we keep them on in our database, and as soon as we're operational, we'll be back in touch with them. When I briefed you in April, we were at 32 active clients. Since then, we've gone to 41 active clients off those 2 towers. That's not bringing up, that's not counting all the calls that we have off the Bethel Hill and Bushy Fork. So when we started the project, the Mount Terza and the Woodland gave us coverage of about 87 square miles. The 2 additional towers will double that mileage coverage and a lot more households once we bring them up. In addition to the coverage areas, the green coverage areas of the 4 public safety towers that we have in our equipment operation off of there, North Carolina Wireless, under RIVERSTREET's guidance, we would not have had the capability to submit for a great grant. That's the state funds for growing rural broadband. We would not have had the resources to file for it, but under RIVERSTREET's guidance, we submitted for a great grant on behalf of Person County to add an additional $2 million worth of broadband into Person County. Our original plan was accepted, but then challenged by the incumbents in several areas. And with that challenge, we didn't have an ability to respond to that challenge. It just wasn't in the law at that time. We lost about $800,000 of that. Subsequent to that, we found the tower that we were hoping to occupy in the southwest corner of the county was overloaded. So we're now back to about an $800,000 project on behalf of Person County. And those 2 tower locations are in the Mount Terza area, so in the southeast, and in the Hiker Lake Woodland area. This is the first coverage map up in the Woodland area. It's just north and overlaps to some degree the areas where Woodland Tower does, but because we own both access points, we can modify the frequencies, adjust the frequencies so we don't get that interference. It adds about 300 plus homes of coverage that we couldn't hit with the Woodland Tower. So it's a really good addition for that area there. The other great grant location that we're doing is actually working with the county zoning and planning, building a 199-foot tower on Mr. Whitt, Joey Witt's property. It will add additional 400 plus households that we can cover, and it overlaps the Mount Terza area, which we get a lot of calls from the Terza. I have to tell a lot of folks no at this point. With this additional resource and the resources off of Woodland, I think that we'll have a really good story. This is, I think, the key to what we really need is this ability to use this resource from RIVERSTREET called joinbuildpiedmont.com. And it's a tool where the clients, once we start advertising it heavily, and Piedmont Electric Membership Corporation is a great partner in this, they're helping us promote it. I'll show you a tool in a few minutes and how the impact is when they start to help us spread the word. On the left is the briefing I showed you and all of the calls that we have seen. Each blue dot is a call from a potential client. That was in April. And September the 17th, you can see how much more heavily covered it is. Between September 1 and the time we published this, Piedmont had put out another notice. We grew 8% of those dots because of that one Piedmont article they put, Piedmont Electrical Membership Club article put out. So that's the power that they bring to us. The lighter orangish brown areas are the Piedmont Electric areas that they cover of Person County. So they're very interested in helping us grow broadband in this area. So looking forward, River Street Networks acquired North Carolina Wireless. That is a really good thing for all concerned. Their mission and our mission are so well fit each other that I'm really happy to be a part of the family at River Street. So we also, River Street purchased the IRU rights so that we can ride the fiber that's being built in Person County. River Street Networks processes a new standard pricing that I showed you earlier. I think that's really neat for the citizens of Person County to be able to enjoy the what the FCC considers the broadband definition of 25/3 at that very reasonable price. River Street has a very strong marketing process and budget, and we will begin to build on that process already in the works. I hope to be able to come back to you, the county manager, soon and tell her when that process of advertising under the River Street brand and the new pricing scheme will be. I hope it'll be very soon. All indications out of Wilkesboro is it's close. Last time I spoke to you, River Street had authorized a hire. We have now made that hire for a full-time field technician here in Person County. One of the issues we had is when we're using contractors, we're a little bit at their mercy. Now that we have a full-time employee with his own vehicle with River Street's logo on it, we'll be able to accomplish repairs and new installs quicker and more efficient. Better potential customer coordination through this planning tool, this marketing tool called Crowdsource, and this Build Piedmont, buildjoinpiedmont.com through this process. Great grant effect is shown on the previous maps where we've applied on your behalf. We have another cycle opening up. We're looking at it, doing it for you. Again, it's on your behalf. The great grant effect and on the previous maps were shown. Great grant funding potentially is available for us, and we're still looking at that. I think the partnership between us and PMC is really beneficial for the citizens of Person County. They are in the process of adding a hotspot off of the Oxford Road location for the PMC that we're assisting them with and providing the technology support. We continue to work with a local sales representative to help us with this process. Mr. Dale Fortner is our primary contact here for the sales effort here locally. That initial fiber backhaul out of Bethel Hill was 100 megs. We quickly overwhelmed that with the customer base we had. We upgraded that with CenturyLink to a 200 meg account. That project is complete, and the customers are seeing the benefit of that. We plan and hope to purchase fiber backhaul out of Roxboro, and for that same $1,700 a month, we should be at a gigabit backhaul capability. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
The residents who called me about it to your River Street website to where you can put in the county and then your address and stuff to add to the list.
Yes, sir.
So is that okay, or should I start sending them to this Build Piedmont?
Which one do you prefer, Greg?
Well, if they wanted information specifically about pricing, they would visit River Street. It's myriverstreet.com, but the join.buildpiedmont.com website is really the best site to send them to, because they can actually go ahead there and put in an order and request service, and it helps us communicate better with the customer at the time that we can turn up services in a particular zone or area.
Now, you used to go to the Light Leap website and put in your address, and it would tell you if you were in a covered area or not. Is there a feature like that on the River Street?
Yes, we've already drawn zones around the areas, so if they put in an address that's inside of the zone, it should tell them that we're gauging interest or we're taking orders. Okay. And if they put in an order, then it'll go in through our marketing department so that we can reach back out to customers.
Okay. And is there an estimated time when the Bushy Fork and the Woodland Towers possibly will be on? That's where I'm getting most of my calls, especially from that Bethel Hill area.
We're being told that the fiber connections will be complete by the end of October, and that's when we should be able to turn those up. They're fully loaded, everything is, all equipment's on the towers. We're told that the fiber comes up at the end of October, we'll be able to bring those towers up and start selling clients off of it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Other questions?
Reiterate something he said about that survey from Piedmont Electric. Sent those flyers out in their last bill. I happen to be one of their customers, and I'd already done the survey. I went back on, and it didn't let me do it again. It told me I'd already done it. But I think it's real important. But if you got one of those flyers, even if you're not on Piedmont and somebody that in your family is on Piedmont and you're on the other one, you know, do the survey. I think it's really important.
Thank you, Mr. White. I appreciate that. It is important. It helps us build that database. And if you recognize what's going on, the 4 access points that we have now and the 2 additional we're building, Oak Point is ready to come up. It's fully loaded with our equipment. It's coming up. We have a backhaul there, so it's going to add coverage area there. The Whitt property is going to be sometime next year through the builder, required to build the tower. But we're also taking data and we're determining where to build those little mini access points. So where a Whitt tower might cost us $300,000, a mini pop, 60-foot pole or so, would cost us $30,000 or $40,000. And those can go in much quicker and service a community of 15 or 20 people. And any information like that helps us make those decisions. So it's a really important point.
I want to say something about the hot spots too, because that was a big deal in this pandemic. There's children that couldn't get online to get their homework and their other stuff done. And it was, it put Person County one step ahead of a lot of other places and a lot of rural counties. And since I will be going off of the board in December, I want to thank all of the people on the previous boards and on this board that have worked together to do this. I've not seen anybody fight this project. And everybody worked together on it. And I'm really appreciative of the Person County government and our IT folks taking up, getting all this fiber done in the ground. It was a great big project, and it was a lot of people telling us we couldn't do it because of all the rules and regulations. People went to Raleigh and got some of the laws and rules changed. Y'all helped lobby for that. Got it where Piedmont could participate in it at one time. They were prohibited from doing very much with projects like this. And so, you know, it's just a lot of things went on to get it done. And I think it's a big step forward for Person County. And I want to thank y'all for being a part of it.
And Commissioner Clayton, thank you for bringing that up. And I would like to say too, that we deal with a lot of counties across North Carolina and into Virginia. And we have been very pleased with the progressive nature of dealing with Person County and what they're trying to do for the constituents here in this county is more amicable than in many counties across the state. And so the people that live here in this county should be very pleased with what their leadership is doing. And since you did bring up Piedmont, I failed to mention earlier, part of the layered approach that RIVERSTREET has is to bring on stakeholders that can ensure the successfulness of any project that we do. And being a cooperative at our core, we were approached by the North Carolina Statewide Electric Association back in 2018 and went through a pretty lengthy time of being vetted through a discussion process to create a new business entity in North Carolina called the Rural Broadband Network. And the Rural Broadband Network is half owned by RIVERSTREET Networks. The other half is owned by the Statewide Electric Association. And the intentions of the Rural Broadband Network was to allow us to use assets, joint assets that the EMCs had in order to reduce the overall overhead costs to get to some of these hard to reach rural areas. Several electric co-ops across the state have already built fiber to their substations. Piedmont Electric is one of those. And so by having that fiber already out further into the community, it just takes us one step closer to get to their members. One of the beautiful things about our operation and our company is that RIVERSTREET Networks is a CLEC, so it can sell anywhere in the state of North Carolina. The electrics are somewhat bound by their service territory, but by having this partnership with RIVERSTREET, we can canvass your entire county and leverage the assets that Piedmont has in order to serve and get closer to those customers. And Piedmont has been very engaged. Their board of directors has been very engaged with us as we've walked through many applications through state programs and now through federal programs. And so this is what we feel like could be the beginning of greater opportunities for Person County, as well as their entire region, which is their footprint covers Caswell, Person, Granville, Alamance, Orange, Durham. And so it's all coming together, and we'll see more growth in the opportunities that we have right around the first of the year. I can also tell you that River Street Networks recently competed in the CBRS auction, which is a licensed spectrum that the FCC has that is controlled and managed. If you don't have an open spectrum that people can crosstalk on each other, you can control that signal and you can provide better service to customers. So we participated in that auction and won 66 counties in North Carolina and Virginia to the tune of about $3.5 million that we invested. And so we'll be coming back to talk with you soon about what the opportunities of CBRS can mean here with our project as well. So we're very focused in this area of the state, and we're here for the long haul to help you in Person County. We thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to say to appreciate all that you guys are doing to work with us and become a partnership in Person County with Person County's investment. And as Mr. Clayton said, this board should be commended for what has been done in the last 2 to 3 years, as far as broadband and fiber placement, tower construction, and the improvement. And this is such a great need in our county, and what better example? It doesn't take much intelligence to figure out what broadband means to all of us, not just in the county, but even worldwide. Ask a third grade student right here in Person County today. They know. And sadly, probably 40–50% of the students do not have the connectivity that they really need. So this is extremely important. You mentioned 2 new towers. Yeah, are those towers constructed by?
The one in Hyco Lake was an existing tower. And so we're leasing space off of it.
Okay.
Was a cell phone tower that really never got loaded. And so it was available to us. We're taking advantage of that. We're putting the equipment on there this week. It already has a backhaul and it will come up very soon, over the next couple of weeks. And then the other one is on the Joy Whitt property, which is down in the southeast part of the county.
Okay, and you think that would be operational when?
It's still being constructed. It's a 199-foot tower, still being constructed, probably in the spring of 2021 when it'll come on board.
Okay, then the other, I think we mentioned about 3, would it be hotspots at in the landfill area? What is that?
About that, Bill, we had talked about it previously, but part of the negotiation that the board was successful with Republic Services was to install 3 monopoles on the landfill footprint to help provide access, particularly in that Mount Terza area. We are aware that the state has approved that permit, and so at any time now, we're able to start that process. What do we need to do with you all to make that come to fruition?
We can get those geolocations. We'll take a look at and see what the best equipment we can deploy there. And the idea is to reach more households. Is that the idea?
That's right.
Okay.
Increase the access down there.
Chris and I'll delve into that real heavy right after this. And,
Okay.
we will see if we can utilize those. When do you think they will be constructed?
I don't know. We really haven't had any conversations yet because we had to wait for the permit to be approved by the state. And so that has happened. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes. There's a 60-day period that we're kind of waiting on just to make sure no appeals are filed. But I'd like to go ahead and start the process of acquiring.
We're very interested in helping with that project.
Okay.
Okay, most of my thoughts are with Person County and local. But another, as you mentioned, fiber into Virginia, I think we would be interested in that from the EDC economic development point of view, what that might mean to Person County reaching out into a broader area as far as, attracting business and industry in the Person County. So just a word or two on that.
Sure. Well, the funding that we utilized to do the project in Virginia was the Connect America Fund. It's a part of the FCC's, I guess it's the funding arm that helps rural companies fund over long periods of time to build out fiber optic. And it's an auction of sorts where they allocate the amount of funds that are available for certain regions across the country. And then a company like us, a private provider, would go in and apply for that. And we were really successful with that, but it helps only subsidize about half the cost. So we still have to put matching funds with it to make it become a reality. I'm not sure if you could give me your question again. I think you were specifically wondering how regionally that
Yeah, regionally and again, kind of across the border. Seems to me we've had talks about fiber being extended into Southside Virginia that would bring it within 8 miles of where we're located. So there's and I don't know that mileage is exact, but say a 10-mile gap in there between us and Southside Virginia, which is connected into Washington and even further. So
correct.
Again, I'm just thinking from the economic development point of view, what that possibility or potential is there with even, I don't know if you guys are interested or involved in that or not.
How do we close the gap?
We would love to have further discussions with you because our goal would be to connect these two networks together for redundancy purposes.
Good.
And so I think our EDC, we need to have some deeper conversations with you about how we could work that out together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this
And
opportunity.
also,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned Dale Fortner.
Yes, sir.
Dale Fortner is no longer with that.
In
Is that
touch with
right?
Soul, you're right.
So-
So he's maintained a warehouse through a furniture company here, and he still sells it. He's
Oh,
still our
good.
sales representative.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
You're quite correct. Thank you.
Further questions from the board? Thank you all.
Wonderful relationship. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Item number 3, update to the comprehensive land use plan. Lori Oakley.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Earlier this year, the county and the city started their update to the comprehensive land use plan right around the time the pandemic kicked in. So we have had to make some changes to the plan. A lot of it we've done so far virtually. And today we have Jason Epley here to give you an update on the plan. Jason is the president of Benchmark, who is our planning consultant working on this plan. He's got over 25 years planning experience. He's done several of these plans, and he has already given the same presentation to the ROXBORO City Council a few weeks ago. So he's here today just to give you an update on what we've done so far on this plan.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me this morning, and hopefully, if I have to take this off at some point, but I'll try to get through it with it on. As Lori had mentioned, the purpose of this plan is really to look at the entire county, the entire jurisdiction of Person County, including the city of Roxboro. Specifically, we're concerned about land use, development, capital investments, and then also growth management decisions. The great thing about this plan is that it's going to have a shared vision between the county and the city that helps you really look at the edges, where to plan for growth. There will be some overlap strategies for the county and the city, but there will also be tailored specific strategies that pertain just to the county and just to the city as well. So it's a really efficient way to go about the plan and update process. Right now, we're currently still in the middle of background research, so I'm just presenting some highlights tonight from the backboard this morning. I'm so used to presenting at evening meetings. So what we're going to go over is a little bit of the background research, the results from the survey. Phase 2 will actually be the development of the plan. That will start in January. And then ultimately, we'll be back hopefully before you sometime in May with the final plan for your consideration. There's a 10-member steering committee, and thank you, Commissioner Powell, for being on that committee. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to meet face-to-face. Our first face-to-face meeting will be October 2nd, so looking forward to that. This committee has 5 from the county, 5 from the city, and it's really meant to be an advisory committee to the planning staff and to us as a consultant working on the plan to keep it moving forward and in the right direction. The project management strategy, we start with our staff level review with your county staff and also with the city staff. Then it goes on to the steering committee. All of that before it goes out for public engagement and public meetings. That way we're sure that we've got good information as we're moving ahead. One of the main points of the process is the public engagement. In May through June, we had listening sessions with a variety of experts across the county and stakeholders that had expertise in utilities, real estate, land use, schools, economic development. We really touched a lot of bases, agriculture as well. And we also held the online community survey July through August. Now, the month of September, we're having these presentations with you all. And there are also presentations online as well. Then October through December, I'll hit that at the end of the presentation. We're actually planning 3 public meetings in that time frame. And then ultimately, we'll have March, hopefully in March, we'll have the public meetings to review the draft plan. In the meantime, you can go to the project website, planpcr.com, and that has presentations on it. You can leave comments, submit questions, or you can join the email update list. Survey results. So we had 585 people respond to the survey. 81% lived in the county, 17% lived in the city, and that's roughly the split of the population. 2% responded that they didn't live in the county or city, probably folks that maybe own a business here or live, work here, something like that. The age of the population that responded to the survey, over 65% were in the age bracket 36 to 65. And that's usually what you expect on a survey like this. Over 63% have lived here greater than 20 years. So your age of the population is 36 to 65, and most of the people that took the survey have lived here a long time. What are your favorite aspects of the county? Almost overwhelmingly, small town living was the most selected choice. Rural lifestyle right behind that, and then overall cost of living. So these are the 3 most important things for folks that took the survey. Pace of development, residential development was split. You had, almost 40% that felt like it was just right. There were about 40% that felt like it was too slow. But when you look at commercial and industrial development, overwhelmingly, all the respondents felt like the pace was really too slow in both of those categories. What's important to you? We gave folks a scale of 1 to 5. Expanding employment opportunities ranked the highest with a 4.4. And closely behind that, you see preserving working farms and open space, maintaining rural lifestyle, and having more local options for shopping. You can see the other responses as well. This particular graphic here, the larger the word, represents the more times we heard it in the survey response. So what's important to protect? Historic buildings, natural landscapes, uptown, forests, farms, open space. So these are all things that folks mentioned that were important to them to protect. Economic development strategies. And this was great to see, and I'm sure it's on a lot of folks' minds, thinking about the future in economic development. Diversifying the local economy was clearly what most people felt like was the most important strategy moving ahead, was trying to look for other types of jobs and other types of employment opportunities and businesses in the county. Vision for the future, this is very similar to the word cloud I presented earlier. The larger the word indicates the more times we heard that. So folks talked about having increased employment, retail growth, diversifying the economy, more recreation, maintain the small town charm and atmosphere, more restaurants, etc. So you can see all the choices there that folks selected. Background research, going to just kind of hit the highlights here. These are all the things that we looked at as part of the research. This is a land use plan. It's not a comprehensive plan, but we did want to look at a comprehensive set of information. So these are the things that we've been looking at with the committee and with your planning staff to figure out what are some of the most important issues going on in the county. So this is just a highlight. Historic population, you can see the trend for the county is trending a little bit better than the city. There's some growth projected by the state of North Carolina, so you're looking at a slow, low to moderate growth rate, through 2040. The city's growth has been relatively flat during that period, but you do see a spike of county growth from 1990 to 2010, and that will be represented in the housing you'll see in a minute. Median age, the county is quite a bit older. If you look at the median age in the city, and then the Durham, Chapel Hill metro area, and the state of North Carolina. Population density, I think is what you would expect. Getting a greater density of housing or population is going to be in the city, where you have urban services and things that allow for a greater density of development. Moving on to some of the economic data, educational attainment. So this shows the highest level of education. So the percent of your population that has achieved a high school degree is, as the highest level of education is the most dominant, over 35%. You see you've done pretty well with some college and associate's degree as the highest level of attainment. But when you get a little bit further out with the bachelor's degree, graduate or professional degree, Roxboro and city of the Percy County, a little bit behind, quite a bit behind the metro area and the state of both of those categories. And that really impacts the type of jobs that are available in the community and the type of earning potential of the residents. Key industry sectors that people are employed in that live in the county, manufacturing was obviously a leader. Then you have educational services, healthcare, social assistance. And not too far behind those would be construction, retail trade, and then also arts, entertainment, recreation, and accommodations. Commuting patterns. You have quite a few folks that commute outside of Person County for work. As you see there, just over 11,000. But you have almost 5,000 that commute in Person County for work. And of course, there's about 5,000 that live here and work in the county. If you look at this particular map here showing residents' work locations, it plays that out a little bit more. And as you can see on this particular map, the majority of those workers' locations that people that live here in the county, where they go into work, you can see the I-85 corridor really pops out in the 40 corridor there as strong location for where people go to work. No surprise. Workers' home locations. So people that work in Person County, where are they coming from? The dots are looked at a little bit different scale, but you can see there are folks that, throughout those 5,000 folks, this is where they live, that commute in, and you can see the ones that actually live in the county, populate south, fills up the square pretty well. So you do draw in workers from throughout the region. Median household income, as I mentioned earlier, that a lot of that's directly attributable to the education levels and the type of jobs. Person County's doing a little bit better than the city as a whole, but you can see Durham, Chapel Hill metro area and the state of North Carolina averages are quite a bit higher, especially for the metro area. Housing age, once again, this corresponds to the spike of growth I showed you earlier from 1990 to 2010. The green bar, you can see those were years Person County, saw some housing, a lot of housing increase. Roxboro saw a big spike in the 1970s. Housing occupancy, a little bit of a vacancy rate, high vacancy rate for the county and the city. If you look a little closer, you can see that on the map and how it plays out. I think a lot of that's due to possibly vacation homes, that sort of thing around Hyco Lake. Looking at the land cover for 2009, this is satellite imagery that shows forested land, agricultural pasture land, and developed land in gray. And you can see it's very rural development pattern throughout the county, with the exception of the city, where it's a little more dense. Just to point out a few growth areas, if you look at the 2019 land cover, you can see just north, the agricultural, a lot of agricultural and pasture land has been converted to forestry land. So there's been some loss of farms, and that plays out in some of the agricultural data as well. But up around Louisiana Pacific, just northwest of the city limits, you see a little bit of growth that's occurred, and obviously the South 501 corridor has seen some growth. Zooming in a little closer to the county level, looking a little closer at existing land use from parcel data, you can start to see some of the clusters of commercial, government, industrial land uses within the county. Zoom in to the city, start seeing a greater mix of uses, no big surprise. You can have a lot more utilities and things available for a greater variety of uses. The road network, Madison Boulevard, Broughton Street, that's where your primary, that's where you have the most trips in town, right there. Madison Street, Bill Boulevard at South Main, you have a lot of vehicular trips there as well. And this is played out to needing improvements on Madison Boulevard because of safety concerns and high traffic volumes. Unfortunately, because of funding statewide, this project has been postponed and delayed. We don't know when the timeframe will be for this project to start again. We all are very familiar with it, but it's a very important project to help with safety and traffic volumes through the city. The water system, as you can see, mostly serves areas within the city where your greatest density of development is. But you do see some lines that have extended out for various purposes related to economic development, schools, or other extenuating circumstances like that. The sewer system pretty much lines up with the water system we expect in the city, although there has been discussion of potential outfall in the western edge of the city to help increase the flow. The wastewater treatment plant on the north of the city, getting wastewater to there is the issue. There's some transmission issues, getting it through some of the lines. There's plenty of capacity to treat it. It's just the size of the lines and how do you get it there. So this is one option that's being looked at to improve that. The floodplain, this shows where the most vulnerable areas are to flooding throughout the county. And looking at the watersheds, the county falls into three: the Pamlico, the Neuse, and the Tar-Pamlico River watershed areas. And there are development regulations in place that do limit density and the type of development in some of those areas. So next steps. The committee is going to begin working on a draft vision for the plan and start working through some of the strategic issues. That's going to start on October the 2nd. There will also be some public meetings coming up, and I'll go ahead and hit those. I didn't get those to your into the presentation because we've just recently been able to come together on some potential dates for that. October 27th is when we're planning an economic development panel. That will be in the city council chambers, time to be determined, but probably an evening event. The purpose of that will be to have some local speakers, look at inform everyone about some of the economic development trends, some of this information, gather input, take questions from folks as well on that topic, and that will help feed into the plan. On November 19th, we're planning an agricultural and natural resources panel. This will hopefully allow farmers to come because well after harvesting time. And then December 1st, we'll have a growth and development panel that will be planned as well, and that will focus on a lot of the things we talked about with the sewer and where growth can go. So there's a lot of information, a lot of things coming up that we're really excited about, and I know the committee's excited to start working with us face to face as we move forward through the rest of this process. This is a great opportunity to go to the project website. You can watch presentations there, as I mentioned earlier, and learn more about the plan. That's all I have this morning. Hopefully I kept it to 15 minutes. I didn't time it. There's a lot to cover, but hopefully we got it covered. Glad to take any questions that you have.
From the board. Thank you.
No questions. Just thank you for leading this group. And I didn't realize we'd accomplished so much in the virtual world.
This whole virtual world is kind of, you plug in, you see somebody on a TV screen. My kids are doing that in school. It's just,
it's coming together. It's extremely important, though, that we're looking at a 10-year plan and even beyond. What do we do with their land in Person County, both within the city as well as the county? So it's extremely important. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome, and I really want to applaud you as the county and the city working together on this because that's really the way to do it. Make sure you got a plan that you both can get behind and work together on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Item number 4, request for support of the Triangle Trails Initiative. Commissioner Clayton.
Thank you, Ray. I put this in the packet because group in the Triangle area keep talking to us about this Trails Initiative, and they're real interested in trying to get something up the rail corridor from Durham up here to where the rail is not in use. And they're looking at some of the bike trails, walking trails. And they've got a lot of these other counties, you can see they've used those old railroads as corridors for recreation, for biking, walking, different things. And I put this on the agenda to see if this board was interested in it, or do you want more information on it? They've got a guy from Durham. If you want more information on it, we're glad to come up here and give you a presentation. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. And if you've got questions about it, I'll be glad to try to answer them, but it's a greenways, and it's not asking for any money from Person County. They've been getting grant money, and they've been getting, I think it, was it the A.L. Fletcher Foundation down there contributed a lot of money to this initiative. And it's a pretty big deal in some of these more urban counties because they need places for people to go to walk and bike. But they're trying to interconnect all of these trails across the state, and they're using these old rail corridors for that. If it's something you'd be interested in, I just want to be sure to put it on here to get the subject going. You don't necessarily have to vote on it today, but if you think you want to, that'll be fine.
Last year, well, I guess last year, Jimmy, myself, Claudia Berryhill, and a couple others from the community met with this group. And so we're just trying to gauge interest if they want to come in and you all hear the presentation to the full board. We had some group, I can't think of the name, that before all this COVID stuff happened, we were going to have 3,000 or so bicycles or something coming through Person County as a stop. And so this would just kind of connect us with everyone else in the triangle that's kind of already doing this. And so we just want to
also will point out that this Trails Initiative would, anytime you dedicate a corridor like that, it helps with your stormwater projects that you're getting credit for. So this would count toward one of those projects, one of those type projects. So
That's true.
that's what you all prefer to do. Do you want?
Mr. Chair, I would like to have them come in and do a presentation if they can. One thing I noticed is when you drive down 501 and you look at the railroad, it's grown up with trees, and it just, I would love to see if we can turn that into a walkway. It would be really nice for our citizens to exercise and ride bikes or whatever they can do. I have seen other counties and other cities who have converted their railroads tracks into a walking type atmosphere. And it's very, very nice. And I'd like to see us do that. But I'd like to see a presentation. And I'm not sure what we can do is the railroad owns that property. And I'm sure we'd have to be some negotiations and talking with the railroad.
But the thing about this group has negotiated with them. They've talked to the railroad. The thing about that is, if the railroad ever needed this back, it would go back. It would go back to them to put a rail service in. So it's not tied up. It's not tied up forever with the railroad. If you'd like to get SIG and Mr. Flink come up here and give you a presentation on it, I think that'd be great.
And certainly, if we get that, we'll certainly clear up the railroad tracks that we got right now down 501.
Is that what you want to do?
I'm fine
You
with
have a
that.
preference when they come?
You would bring a resolution at that time,
No resolution, just a presentation.
just a presentation.
Just a presentation, and then we can gauge the interest from the board. You all can hear what we heard.
And this
And,
bike tour you mentioned, that's still on, isn't it?
As far as I know, it is still
October
on.
6th.
I got
heard
something
it's not
from,
as big as it was going to
Right.
be. It's not going to be as many cyclists
Yeah,
as it was
okay.
going to be, but it's still coming. Last
coming.
I heard.
Same.
Okay, well, we'll try to set that up. Probably have to get with SIG. I don't know their, it would be
Gotcha.
ideal for our evening meeting, but I don't know if they meet in the evenings on the first Monday like we do or not. So
Right.
we'll just have to get with him on that schedule and get back to everyone. Have how to send out something to all the board members.
Do you want to include the resolution at that meeting, or do you want to go ahead and adopt that? They're asking for a resolution of support as they're out
I
seeking
think we
grant
need to hear the
funds.
presentation before
Okay.
we know we can support it or not.
Okay,
Also, when we're doing the presentation, we might want to get some input from our staff on how it would affect the stormwater and all those type of rules, because
Sure.
it does have an effect on our credits for that.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Got me.
Okay, item number 5, proposed open burning ordinance, Fire Marshal Keith Dunn.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Today I come before you to propose the open burning ordinance for the county of Person. What this establishes is follows the guidelines from the general statute, guidelines from the North Carolina Fire Code, and it's just mainly, it gives the fire marshal's office and the sheriff's office a little bit of enforcement latitude when it comes to enforcing these rules. What we're asking is nothing new. It only gives us a chance to educate the public, enforce the code if necessary, and it helps for the well-being and protection of all the residents here in Person County.
I will say this is something that has come up in the Chiefs, the Volunteer Chiefs Association meeting for several years now, especially from our forestry department here in the county, because they do witness a lot of illegal burnings. But until we had a fire marshal, there was no one, from my understanding, that could actually write a citation or enforce those state laws that were already on the books and things.
That's correct.
And so, so I will say this is coming also from your Chiefs Association.
Question. Let's say if you live out in the community, rural area, no real neighbors, and you're burning trash in a burn barrel. Under this ordinance, is that illegal?
Yes, sir.
You said illegal?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't it already illegal to burn trash though?
Yes, sir.
No, not.
Since 1972, it's not been legal.
Any of the laws. It's just giving the enforcement power for the laws that are already in place. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It was already illegal to burn trash. I think there's some confusion on that.
Yeah.
And it's not our intent to go out to residents and enforce any fines on unless it's absolutely necessary. My intent is to educate the public, and what I intend to do is make up brochures, which I've done before, carry them and myself and my deputy in our trucks, also provide them to the fire departments when they're out on a call to share that information with homeowners and just make that education available to everyone. And it's made a big difference in the 2 counties I came from before, especially when it came to property loss, and it really has.
I have a question on the Article 11 enforcement. Have these been in place the whole time, or are these new as far as when we're looking at first violation shall result in a warning, citation, probation period of 1 year. Violator will be educated in the ordinance and given proper education material for reference. Has that been on the books, or are we putting that in, or just a question on that?
Well, there's not been an ordinance that I'm aware of here in Person that did any of this. What this does, it follows the state mandates, and it just gives this office a way to enforce open burning or the illegal part of open burning, to discourage that type of activity. Actually, the very first one, the education part is what I'm most concerned with.
Yeah.
And I'll work with them, you know, as friendly as possible. Just want to let them know what they're doing is bad for their health. Things can get out of control very quickly, and we're looking out for their safety. The only time that the violations would be the monetary violations would be enforced is, you know, if we have somebody that just continues to do stuff, and there's complaints on it from neighbors and businesses alike.
You know, see, if you stick to it, I mean, what we have in your second violation, result in a civil penalty of $100.
Yes, sir.
And then your third violation or further violations shall result in a civil penalty of $300.
Yes, sir.
And this isn't, like we've said in the past with planning, this isn't window shopping. This is basically when you all are, if it's gotten out of hand to where the fire department was called and then they're out there and now they see the cause of that fire, it gives him an opportunity to educate. And if it continues to happen, to cite.
I won't be out riding the roads looking for violations by no means. But if the fire department calls or I get a call from 911 or concerned residents, you know, I'll investigate it and try to find out. You know, sometimes it has been where I have to educate the complainant and not the people that are burning because they are within their rights. And try to work out some of those neighborly things as best as possible. But this just does give a way to enforce the illegal part of the burning.
Yeah, I mean, I live in the county and I know I've smelled people burning stuff, and it's not just wood. Sometimes it's plastic, and that's toxic. And I know that's a concern there when you're, depending on what you're burning, whether it's in the burn barrel or out pasture, pasture or something, trash, what's mixed in with that.
Yes, sir. And especially when you have dense areas of homeowners, there's nothing in plastics and things that are made nowadays that are helpful. And it comes right down to parts per million that when you inhale, it's accumulative over time. It's not just that one time, it's multiple times. And trying to cut down on those health concerns.
How many complaints has the county received over the last year regarding open burning?
I'm sorry, sir. I don't
He hadn't been here a year.
I know, but
the
I mean,
forestry department, I mean, he pretty much brings it up every meeting. We meet bi-monthly with the Chiefs Association. And because he knows it's legal, but he doesn't have authority to enforce it. And not until, no one could until we actually had a fire marshal back on staff.
I understand that.
So I don't know if it's been kept up with.
I'm just trying to justify the countywide ordinance, and I want to understand because I have not received any complaints over it. That's the reason sometimes we do stuff. I've been on this board long enough. Sometimes we have the best intentions, and sometimes it turns out to be red tape or, kinds of backfires in our face. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up. Is this absolutely necessary at this time? So,
and I don't know.
That, for quite some time, you hadn't heard a whole lot about it recently because we've met a lot of the standards, but at one time we had a problem with air pollution type stuff. And sometimes an ordinance like this, if you're in a county that's been cited for non-attainment, sometimes an ordinance like this gives you so many points when they're looking at your air pollution stuff. Now, I don't know whether this does or it doesn't. I hadn't really thought about that a lot until you were talking about what effects this has, and you're exactly right. Sometimes the unintended consequences outweigh the ordinance, but in this situation, from the exceptions that I see they've got in here, I don't think that it would, but keep in mind that I would think that would probably have some type of credit for Person County if they were in here looking at any air pollution stuff. And the manager may know more about this, but I know that at one time that was a big deal.
Well, a lot of this, I don't think has been like neighbor complaints. It's been our firefighters are going out on scene for calls and then finding out that call could have been prevented because it was caused by an illegal burning. And so I don't think we've got a lot of neighbors calling in saying my neighbor's burning something he shouldn't. I think it's the fact that we're expending resources to our volunteer fire departments and tying up trucks to go out to calls that possibly could have been prevented if those people have been educated about what they should and should not be burning.
That's a good way to look at it. And like I said, truly my main purpose is education. That's first and foremost. And the only time the penalties would come in is just to give some authority to control that by the use of fines. But that would be my last resort.
I have a question about the permit. So how do you go about getting a burn permit? Is it available to get Monday through Friday, or how if someone was going to have trash in the pasture or out their land, they want to burn that? So what would be the process like?
Mostly the only burn permits are through the Forest Service. Fire Marshal's office and the fire code is not, a burn permit is not in one of the permits offered or imposed. So the burning of materials such as leaves and grass, anyone can do is, and then the illegal materials are supposed to be carried to landfills or convenience stores. So to answer your question, there's not really an open burning permit per se. It's just following the guidelines of the fire code. If silviculture and horticultural purposes, if they have questions, they can call. I'm right next door to forestry, so we're working coordination with that stuff, and we can give them the right answer.
Further questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the open burning ordinance.
Okay, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay, we need a show of hands. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion fails. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
All right, item number 6, submission of legislative goals for North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Manager York.
Good morning, Commissioners. Every 2 years, counties are invited to submit legislative goals to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and they would go through their legislative goals process, which involves committees and a conference of sorts that they hold. And then they have a comprehensive list of priorities for counties, and they advocate on our behalf. So we are invited to submit any legislative goals that the board might have. Those are due to the association by the end of this month. We have previously submitted broadband access as one of our top priorities, and the association has adopted that as one of their top priorities. So it's not necessary to submit a new goal for that. We would just continue to state our support of that. We've also previously talked about the ability to post public notices electronically. Commissioner Perrier, I'm not sure if you've ever heard back from our representative on that, but the counties that have been able to get that authority seem to have had most success with a separate individual bill versus a legislative goal, but that would be another one that we have previously talked about. Is there any goals that you all would like us to submit? It's simply an act of going online, and I would submit whichever priorities reflected our board.
Broadband currently is the #1 goal of the association.
That's right.
All these goals will go to a committee, and then they generally would have a legislative goals conference held in the early part of the next year's held biannually to coincide with the legislature's budget.
Right.
And so that conference will be next year, and where they will hear all of these goals, and the association and its members, which is us, will vote on which ones that they want to support or have the association to advocate on and lobby on our behalf at the legislature. And I don't see broadband going anywhere as far as a top priority for the state.
I would like to see the association give counties such as Person that have independently and privately invested money into broadband, hold her up a hand for applications for grants and things of that nature. I mean, let them support those that are stepping out on their own to commit to broadband in counties with, in this case, in our case, without a lot of state funding. So, you know, we're a county sort of standing out there by itself, is doing a lot for its citizens through our broadband effort, and we don't seem to get the support from the state that we
Well,
actually need and should have.
I'm not sure it's their role to advocate just for a single county, but what I can say throughout the broadband discussion at the state is they have highlighted Person County quite a bit when speaking to the members of the legislature. I think especially when Sybil was here, she did a lot of presentations and stuff on behalf of what we have done in Person County, because we have done more, quite frankly, than any other rural county in the state. And it has been highlighted, I think, several times. Now, I think that could be another part of it if we want to submit a goal is to the state. It's about the funding and rewarding the counties that have expended.
Well, some
quite a bit of
language
money.
in there that would support our efforts, I think is important. And in your case, in our case, promote it all you can when you're at the table.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ron Aycock. I have been appointed, along with Sybil, who is now in Buncombe County, as you know, on a little ad hoc subcommittee to help the county commissioner staff develop proposed legislation for broadband. They have worked some with the telecommunications industry to see if we can get something that would be agreed to by the telecommunications industry. We are fairly close to having some agreement, and I think the staff acknowledges, as you said, Mr. Chairman, that that is a continuing priority goal, and we'll work on it even before this year's legislative goals. I think progress is being made, and I'll make sure to put into the discussion acknowledgement of the efforts that counties like Person have done.
Do we want to submit something with electronic notices, or do we just still want to go with try to get a local bill possibly passed? Yeah.
Okay.
Thought that was God talking there for a second.
I looked at you. Okay, any other suggestions for goals from the county? All right,
Okay,
thank you. Item number 7, consideration to cancel the October 19th, 2020 meeting. Manager York.
Yes, Commissioners, the early voting will be using this space. Since we've relocated our meetings down to the auditorium, that presents a conflict for your October 19th meeting. So I'd like some direction from the board. If you would like to consider canceling that, then we can try to make sure that all of your agenda items get covered at a meeting before or after that date. The boardroom doesn't suit us for social distancing purposes at this time. It's just a little too crowded and can't accommodate many members of the public. So we're open to suggestions from you all for your October 19th meeting.
Are you able in any way to project what may be on the horizon there? We have a meeting on the 5th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, I did check in with the planning staff, and they have no items coming before us.
All the items that are currently on my radar for the October 5th meeting, I don't think we have any items on your list for agenda items on the 19th at this point.
I don't have any problem.
I think that's fine. I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
I'll make that motion then.
Okay, it's been properly moved to cancel our October 19th meeting.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Okay. Item number 8, appointments to the boards and committees. Clerk Reeves.
make a motion, if we can, that we set up a time to have the candidates interview with the board.
Okay.
Maybe the next meeting, October.
October 5th, could we meet at 6:30 and ask that the applicants come at that time to be interviewed? That gives us 30 minutes before our regular meeting. Okay. Would that be fine for your motion to say 6:30?
Yes,
October 5th?
6:30 is fine.
Okay, you've all heard the motion. It's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move for approval. All right, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move for approval. All right, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, our Republic Services 7th Amendment. Manager York.
I think Ron is also helping with this one. The last amendment to the contract extended it temporarily through the end of September. And we've heard from Republic that they have received their state permit, but it is currently in a 60-day appeal window. And so we are asking to have an additional 7th amendment, which would reflect that period of time to make sure that your contract stays valid. Excuse me. So that would extend the date until November 30th. The 60-day period would be through November 1st, I believe. And so giving us a little extra time then to work with Republic and get all of the new proposals that have been made into place and get it up and running. It would then be in place, your new permit and new contract for December 1. Now, Ron, if there's anything else you wanted to add to that discussion, I don't have a copy of the abstract right in front of me, but I'll get that.
I think you have explained it very well. Unfortunately, the COVID situation delayed the state and Republic in getting this all put together. And I am assured by the Republic attorney that all things are in place. The state has in fact issued the permit, and that there has been no indication of any appeal to the permit. But legally, we have to give the 60 days for people to appeal. It is not expected that an appeal will occur.
Negotiations. In the new contract we have where Person County residents will be able to dump for free. I think we put a monetary amount in there, but should cover them pretty much for a year. So when this contract starts December 1, that's when that will start, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
As well as your countywide litter pickup initiatives, some of those other proposals will all take effect on the 1st. So we want to start ramping up the marketing part of that during the month of November.
Very good. Okay, questions from the board? Hearing none, what's your pleasure? All right, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right. Hadn't had a lot going on since our last meeting, so I'm gonna forego my chairman's report. Manager?
Just wanted to announce that the Economic Development Commission is holding their regularly scheduled meeting tomorrow, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And no further announcements.
Okay. Vice Chairman Powell?
No report.
All right. Commissioner Sims? Commissioner Clayton? Commissioner Preyer? Okay. Since we are meeting for interviews at our next meeting, I need a motion to recess till October 5th at 6:30. All right, it's been properly moved. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all.